All right, factor by grouping, that's exactly what your learning target is. So we're going to be looking at groupings that have 4 terms. Now these 4 terms will actually be put into 2 different groups. We'll put the first 2 terms into one parentheses. We're going to have a plus sign there, and that's actually a must. And then we're going to have the last 2 terms together in the second parentheses. So let's look at that here. We're going to put the first 2 together and the last 2 together. And we are going to take out a common number, which looks like it's 4, as well as the letter B. So I'm going to take out a 4B, put it in front of the parentheses, and I'd be left with an A and a plus 2. Now in the second one, we were going to look at the 3A and the 6. Looks like 3 could be GCF'd out. We're going to put that in front of the parentheses, and we're left with an A plus 2. Now you should notice that what remains in both parentheses is an A plus 2. We can actually take out a plus 2 out of the first grouping, as well as take out or GCF out a plus 2 of the second one. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to GCF out an A plus 2. We'll have that in parentheses because it is a grouping of it. And then what remains is a 4B and a plus 3. All right, now you have factored your 4-term event. If you don't believe me, you could actually FOIL it, and foiling it will give me the original. Maybe in a different order, but it would work. All right, let's continue doing that. First 2 terms grouped, last 2 terms grouped, plus sign is a must. Let us take out a 2y. So taking out a 2y leaves me with a 3y minus 2. And on this one, I'll notice that I already have the 3y minus 2, and my GCF is 1. So I'm going to actually just put a plus 1 there, and then 3y minus 2. Again, you should have a common or a GCF, something that can be factored out, and that is going to be the 3y minus 2. So GCFing a 3y minus 2, put it in parentheses, and what remains is a 2y as well as a plus 1. Last one on this page. Again, I'm going to group the first 2 together, but I'm going to notice that there's a plus sign missing, so I'm actually going to rewrite it with a plus sign. So I'm going to put a plus minus 2y minus 7. Now let's group them. First 2 together, last 2 together. GCFing out, it looks like an x, so I'll take out an x, and then I'm going to be left with a 2y and a plus 7. And on this next one, looks like if I took out a negative 1, I'm going to be left with a 2y and a plus 7. Now again, you need the exact same thing in both parentheses, so you can GCF the 7y plus, or 2y plus 7 out of both of them. So we're going to take a 2y plus 7, and what remains is an x and a minus 1. On the next page, we still have our 4 terms, and we're going to group the first 2 together and the last 2 together. And on this one, looks like if I took out a 5x, I'd be left with 5x and 7 minus y. And on the other one, if I took out a 3, I'd be left with a y minus 7. Now you should notice that the parentheses have the same numbers and letters, just they're the opposite. So I guess it would have been better if I would have taken out a negative 5x or a negative 3. But I didn't, so I'm going to try to do it now. So this is going to be a minus 5x now, and a minus 7 and a plus y, which if I flipped them around, y minus 7 is the same thing. And now I'm going to bring down the plus 3 and the y minus 7. Again, I have the same thing in both parentheses. So I'll take out a y minus 7 out of both of them, and what remains is a minus 5x and a plus 3. Now of course, if I would have taken out the minus out of the second half, it would have made a minus 3 here, and then we would have had a negative, or 7 minus y. So it's quite possible to get the same answer, just written a slightly different way. Last one here, let us GCF and group together. We're going to GCF out a 3a, it looks like. And I'm going to be left with a 5 minus b. I'm also going to take out a 4, and we'd be left with a b minus 5. Now, if that's the case, again, you do not have the same thing in both parentheses. You have the opposite. So we should have taken out a negative 1 out of one of them, but I got to do it now. So that's going to give me a negative 3a and a minus 5 plus b plus 4 and a b minus 5. And then these I am just going to switch around. So negative 3a, b minus 5 plus 4 and b minus 5. Now you have the exact same in both parentheses. They can be taken out. So what I'm going to do there is GCF out a b minus 5. If I take out a b minus 5, I'm left with a minus 3a, and I'm left with a plus 4. Again, if you would have taken the minus out of the second half, it would have just switched the signs around. So anyways, to recap, there you go. First two in the parentheses, second two in the parentheses must have a plus sign. GCF the first parentheses, GCF the second parentheses, and then GCF whatever is in common of both of the remaining parentheses. You might have to do it a second time if you need a negative. There you go.